Call Jules 03459 811111. This is Call Jules.
BBC Radio Kent.
Good morning. On Call Jules today, does Kent need more bungalows? The number of bungalows being built in the UK has collapsed. Karen's our next caller. She's in Newington near Ramsgate. Hello, Karen. How are you?
Very well, thanks. How's yourself?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Tell me a little bit about where you are. Is there a shortage of bungalows or just property generally?
It's just property generally, really, although I would imagine there are quite a few people that would really like to live in a bungalow because it gives you easy sort of one-level living and usually lots of garden. They're quite nice. But I've called today because I'm an elected Labour councillor for Newington, sitting on the Thanet District Council. And I have to say, in the 4 months I've been a councillor, I've just been so shocked and overwhelmed by the housing problems that present locally.
Tell me a little bit about what's shocked you the most, because this is individual, this isn't just bricks and mortar, this is people's lives.
It is people's lives. There's two things that have shocked me. One is just the absolute dire shortage. And two, I have actually been shocked by the sort of stress that it puts upon families. It's a sort of absolutely needless burden they toil under. So on a weekly basis, I get calls from people or emails from people that are having terrible housing problems. I regularly get calls from families who, in one case, we've got a private landlord who's decided to sell that property, and that's quite a fair thing for that landlord to do. But what it does mean is the family in that house, the renters in that house, will have to move on. Now, in this one particular case, it's a above average-sized family, 4 kids, and a mum and a dad. They've got a very, very severely disabled daughter, and they do everything they can to, support their daughter and keep their family together. There's a companion dog involved, and it's very difficult to get them rehoused. And I find what's worse about it is that you can't even really offer this family any reassurance that there's light at the end of the tunnel. If you could say to them, it might take a few months, or, there will be something, you're just going to have to be patient, that would be one thing. But as a councillor, not to be able to offer them any reassurance, knowing there's just a growing crisis.
So how long have they got until the landlord has... what's the eviction date? Well, it's cruel to call it an eviction date, but essentially that's what it is if he wants his property back.
It is essentially an eviction. It's a legal termination to the tenancy. So nobody's accusing the landlord of being wrong.
But how long have they got?
They've probably got about 8 weeks, and they're probably halfway through that process, and they've still got no answer.
And so you are trying to find a housing association or council property,
yes.
And that you need something presumably that's got at least 4 bedrooms. I don't know if some of the children can share. Is there just nothing?
I think there's just nothing. They'd be quite happy to manage with a 3-bedroom house. The other cases that I come across are middle-aged men who are living in single rooms in a shared house. They've got nowhere to go. As they get older and their health needs change, they're just way out on a limb.
Is this divorcees largely, do you think, Karen?
It's divorcees and men that never really married. So I've got a couple of cases where they've just got no options.
What's the solution to this housing crisis that it isn't just about... from what you're telling me, the crisis is much greater for younger and middle-aged people than it is for older people.
I think for older people there are some issues. I get called upon regularly for people that are in properties that, quite frankly, the properties are often very suitable for them, but they're just not getting the support that they need with, sort of minor repairs and getting gardens and things sorted out. And, as you get older, when you get into your 80s, it is difficult to do these things. I think we'd all agree with that. We don't expect our, aged relatives to be out turning over their own gardens. And it's just this sense of, why can't we have a kind of community that lends a hand? And why does all of this housing issue have to be such a struggle?
Tell me something. Are there any new council properties being built in your area?
We've got a really nice site being built up in Newington, which is a sort of sheltered accommodation, nice design, lifts installed, all of that sort of thing, parking. So that's a really nice site. But we just need massively to build more houses in Thanet. We need thousands of new houses, and I think we need them really quickly. And I also think we need to think about how we meet the needs of a changing population. Not everybody is in a couple, not everybody's part of a family. I particularly feel sorry for families under pressure where there's an older teenager, a young adult in their early 20s, and they're busting at the seams because they each need their own space. I mean, that's just a normal sort of process of growing up. And it just seems to me we're creating hot pots for people to live in where they've got no choice about what happens and they're extremely vulnerable.
Karen, is there an argument that, and I don't know to what extent the council can facilitate this, that people look, I know people want to stay where they are, but we just had a caller on talking about how much cheaper it was and how he planned it and moved to Lincolnshire where property is about half the price that it is here. Are you seeing families who want to move out of Thanet because of the difficulty in finding somewhere to live?
Well, that's really, in a way, quite funny, isn't it? If you're a property owner, then there would be parts of the country, Lincoln, Hull, etc., that would be cheaper, and you might pick up sticks and move on. But if you're a renter, it doesn't necessarily, where you're renting, the rent in any particular region is set at a regional level. So you could find yourself moving to a region to still find that your housing benefit doesn't stretch far enough to buy you a decent enough home. And we've had lots of examples here of where people are in rogue accommodation with bad landlords, lots and lots of that. I'm hoping we are seeing an improvement in that with the licensing policy that we've brought in.
Why did you go into politics, Karen? Was it all about things like this, or are you discovering this as you go along?
I've been involved in politics for a long time. I've always been a member of the Labour Party. I've been a trade union. I am a trade union official. So wanting to improve our society is just a natural thing for me. That's how I was born or made, I guess.
And I'm slightly digressing, but it's so relevant at the moment. Can your party be saved? Because it's in a terrible state at the moment, isn't it? And Labour can only be an effective opposition if they have. If you have some clarity and if the party can build behind a leader. What do you think is going to happen next?
Well, personally, I think whatever happens next, and whoever is the next leader, they will have my 100% support without any hesitation, because we can't keep going through this. I think it's very useful, actually, that we've had this debate in the party and we're being pulled to the left, because we do need policies that put people first. And I think that's started to happen. I think we've got the right policies. We need now to get the right leader in place, whoever that is. And obviously everybody's got their vote and they've got their right to take part in that process. Do
you think that it's right that the party just puts up one candidate against Jeremy Corbyn?
I think, I don't have any control over this, so it's not something that I'm going to concern myself with. I've got a stack of phone calls and visits to make today to people that are in genuine need.
I was only intrigued by how you felt about it, what you thought the best strategy was.
The party will sort itself out, because, being a political animal, I'm not going to be on the phone to you and not say we need to be proper opposition to the Tories. That's actually what the focus is. And I think the vast majority of Labour people would feel exactly the same. Can we just get this over with? Can we just reach an agreement? And can we move on and be an effective opposition party?
Karen, that's
what we need to do.
Really nice to talk to you this morning. Thanks ever so much for your time.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too. Karen in Newington, Labour Councillor, Thanet District Council, on the wider housing shortage where she lives and where she is a politician.
News, weather, travel and sport.
And every ball of the 2016 Kent cricket season.
BBC Radio Kent.
It's all here.